Hello, I'm Clint Walker, and this is Real Estate Appraiser Secrets. And today, we are going to talk about the bad comps and why you should not avoid them. So, anytime, let's back up. I do a lot of work helping agents price properties in a consultation service that I offer. And every time I do it, I always I give them an array of sales, typically the same sales that I would use in an appraisal. And in that array, there's almost always some low comps. And I suggest to the agent that I'm working for that they give this whole list to the appraiser. And they always want to know, well, why'd you put this comp in there? This one clearly doesn't help my price that I want to ask for this property. And the reason is, for one, when you're going to present these sales to your appraiser, I think it helps you to not avoid the low comps, because then you're communicating to your appraiser that you are not just cherry picking the good stuff, okay? Because in every array of comparable sales, anytime you're trying to price a house, there's going to be some sales out there that don't help you get what your seller wants or what you think it's worth. Okay, there's always some ugly ones, some bad ones, and when you combine that with the reality that often almost always the seller is biased in favor of their property, and many times, I know from working with agents, the seller's bias becomes our bias, your bias. Your appraiser is sort of expecting that, and they're going to be looking for you to cherry pick these sales, to only give them sales that make your price look better, okay? Which immediately undermines your credibility a little bit. There may be some sales in those cherry pick sales that are good for them, but in the interest of you building your own credibility with your appraiser and the benefit of that in your interaction with them, you don't want to just cherry pick the good stuff. You want to have the bad stuff in there as well. And then when you leave those bad sales in, you want to be able to explain them. If you've been to my class, I talk about how there are things that, as the boots on the ground professional and sometimes legitimate expert in your area, you might have some insider knowledge on these sales that your appraiser can't get except through you. For instance, if you I know a few agents in town who are selling in large subdivisions and they've kind of got the market wrapped up in there. They live in the subdivision. They get all the gossip in that subdivision. They know everything that's going on. So in that subdivision, there might be some sales that are low because maybe the sellers were transferred for a job abruptly and had to get rid of that property. Maybe they lost their job and had to get rid of that property. Maybe they're going through a nasty divorce and the price gets slashed for that reason. There are lots of reasons that a property can sell for less than the perceived market value that have nothing to do with the property itself. It's the circumstances of the sellers. And a lot of times in those circumstances, we as agents aren't advertising those facts. We're not going to tell the entire world that our clients, our sellers, are going through a nasty divorce and this property can be had for a huge discount. If we think that we can both sell the property in a timely fashion and also get our people the most money, we're going to do that. Sometimes it doesn't play out like that, and we got to slash the price to get it done. But in situations where these circumstances that are not attributable to the property itself arise and they're not advertised, then somebody's got to tell the appraiser so that the appraiser doesn't just use that comp and think that the price got slashed because of something physical going on with the property, okay? Because you could have a situation where, let's say, the property is on one of the main entrances to the development, or backs up to a busy road, or backs up to power lines. That there is some external influence going on where if that property sold low, the appraiser might reasonably say, well, it's got these other factors, this must be the problem. And then your listing also has that feature. And so your appraiser thinks that this is the reason for the slashed price, when in fact it was the completely unrelated life circumstance that was the reason for the price. Okay, these things happen, folks, all the time, and if you're not there to interact with the appraiser to let them know that, hey, I've got this bad comp here, I'm not avoiding it, I'm addressing it, I want you to know what was going on with this, so that you have all the facts and then can determine for yourself if you should use it. Don't tell them whether or not they should use it. Let them come to that conclusion on their own based on your facts. But it's really important that you get that information to them, because we just can't know otherwise. Maybe a very, very diligent appraiser who questions everything, including themselves, including what they're seeing, calls the agents involved in that transaction and tries to find that information for themselves. But I think more often than not, your appraiser's busy and is going to see what they see and come to the conclusions that they come to based on those physical features, if they're present. So you can run into these all the time. Sometimes there is no explanation. Sometimes it may be that comp that you think is low and crazy and not market value, and there must have been something weird going on that caused that. When you dig into that, sometimes that stuff doesn't exist, and that comp is just the market. Okay, that comp sold for less because of market timing, or some market conditions that I talked about in my last video. And you doing a little research, by doing a little research, you figure that out and can relay that to your seller, and this starts to inform your service to them and their perspective on the market, and it's totally relevant, and you need to address it. So lots of good reasons to look at all the comps at face value, address them, dig into them. This is what we as appraisers do in every report. We try not to make any assumptions on the sales and what's going on with them. We really want to dig in and try to understand each one objectively, because we're really not interested in serving either party in the transaction. We just want to know objectively what's going on in the market, what's happening. So when you find those bad sales, don't avoid them. Also, by the same token, be skeptical of the good sales. If maybe there's some extenuating circumstances for why that house sold for so much that doesn't apply to your house. Maybe there was furniture involved, or tractors, or Mercedes-Benzes, and those people got a premium for some undisclosed, non-real estate related item. Maybe that went on at a time when market conditions were just right and they had no competition. Basically the same house as yours, but no competition, and so it sold fast and sold for more, and you've got a different market circumstance. So dig into them, try to find out where you fit in, why the low ones are low, why the high ones are high, and get ready to relate that information to your sellers and to the appraiser. If I can help you do any of that on the front end for pre-listing stuff, we would love to do so. Feel free to reach out to me. Find me at truepointappraisals.com, and we can do your pre-listing appraisals, consultations, or professional measurements. As always, I appreciate you watching, think about you watching, and I appreciate you watching. And we'll catch you next week.